Now that we've gone through and did a little bit of review and going over some of the positioning and various CSS, let's now go in and try and see how we can alter one from scratch or one that at least has just very basic tags. Notice that within this file, which in order to get this file, you need to download the zip file that I provided for you, unzip it, and there's two of them we initially want to open. In the editor, we want to open smithstart.htm. This is the code we're going to modify. What does this look like whenever we open it up? Notice that everything is inline. It's all the way down. Notice that we also have all of our headers that are blue. Now, let's go to the explain PDF document, and you could take time, pause this, and read the information about what we're going to do and what we're going to name our embedded styles. Here's what it will look like when we're done. Yours might look a little different than mine on the screen, but that's only because of browsers and the screen resolution. Let's start. Go to your editor. Now, I already told you that all of our headings are blue. Well, what we have here are in every single heading, no matter the size of the heading, it all has an inline style telling us it's blue. Since we want them all to be blue, we should not be putting them as inline. We should be doing something like an embedded. So here's what we're going to do. Click after your title, and let's create an embedded style. So I have to do my style tag. And remember, I could also put a type here telling it is a CSS. And also, just so I won't forget, I'm going to put my closing style. If I forget, then when I try and display the page, it will think the entire page is a style and display nothing. All right, I'm ready to put my selectors in. On my selectors, I have an H1, H2, excuse me, they must be commas, and H3. Remember, commas mean all, spaces mean nested. Okay, so here's what we can do. We can just tell it from the embedded that the color for all these are blue. Now we're done with this part of it. Let's take a few of these out of the inline. We don't have to take them all out, and test to make sure that our embedded is going to work. So we save it, go to Tools, View in Browser, unless you left your last one open. You only need one browser and one file open, and switch between the two to test. So I'm going to refresh. It's still blue. That means that my embedded also worked. All right, next thing we want to do, we want to be able to have our features only take up part of the left-hand side of the screen. We want our bullets to be different than the bullets outside of this blocked area. We also want the heading for each line to be blue. But all of these we're changing are only within a particular area. As long as there's something unique that blocks these areas in, then we can alter it and not alter anything else. Let's go back to our code. Now that means that as we scroll down, right when we hit our features, I'm going to take the inline style out of that. We want everything starting with our features encompassing all of our bullets to where our bullets close. We want these blocked in by a unique identifier so that we will only affect that area. The only way I can do this at this point is more than likely to create my own class or ID and then block the area with a div tag. I'm going to call my class Features Box. Okay. Now we have to make sure and close this div tag to turn these features off, or the styles I'm going to apply. Okay, now let's go create our class. Again, it's going to be an embedded class. So I put period feature box. Now, what we want to do is to have our feature box appear on the left-hand side and our text appear on the right. So we're going to float, and on this one, we're going to float left. Now remember, in order to see the float and have enough room for our text below this area to appear beside the feature box, we have to give it a width. And our width, back to wrong syntax, we must have our colon. Our width, we're going to make about 700 pixels. Now, we also want our border. Now, we could say border dash right, border dash top. We could tell it all the different pieces that we want to affect, but we want the whole border. And I want it to have double lines. So I could affect only the lines on this property. However, I'm going to use the shortcut. I can tell it double to get the double lines, space, blue in order to get them blue. Since I have put a space between the two different values, the shortcut is if I only put the values of the entire general border, then I don't have to specify individuals. Okay. Now, let's see what this is going to look like before we go any further and if we're affecting it correctly. So, save it, go back to your page, and refresh. And we have it a start of coming together nicely. The only thing we can see is all the information that used to be below is now on the right-hand side because we floated left. However, looking at the bullets that are outside of this area, notice the bullets are inside my feature box. They are not considered part of the text, so they do not have to align outside. Now, two things we got to look at. Remember, we talked about padding and margins. When I want to control how far the text is away from my line or my area, if I'm changing the inside, then it's padding. If I'm changing the outside, then it's a margin. Now, I do need to let you know that on some displays, your bullets may appear all the way over outside your headers. That's only because of the editor you're using. Also because maybe some of your closes. We're going to fix any of those. All right, so we want to affect the areas that deal with padding and margin. So I'm going to go in. I want to do another one. So again, we're sticking to our syntax of property, colon, value, semicolon. So the next one we're going to work with is our padding. And our padding, we want to have 10 pixels. Then we're going to work with our margin. Now again, I can tell it margin dash right and tell it I want it 20 pixels. If I want to affect all the margins, then I would just say margin and a value. It will fill all 4 margins, top, bottom, left, and right. But again, we're sticking with the right. Now let's save it and see how it affects our page. Now we have all our bullets to the right, all the information that used to be below the feature box over on the right. Now, another thing we want to do, we want to affect the bullets in the box, but not the ones outside. Remember, as I'm making these changes in mine, you can either follow along with me or pause at this time and try it on your own, and then start it back up and see how I do it. Let's go fix it. Our next area is, again, I want to change the bullets inside the class. So now I'm going to embed these again. I want to be able to affect only those, so it's going to be my feature box, but I only want to affect the bullet lists. So here I tell it I want my list, style, and it could be a type unless it's an external image, then I say image. It's the image that I've already given you. So we tell it the URL for this image and then the name. This is another file that was unzipped. So let's see how this works now. Save it. Go back to your image and refresh. There's all of our different ones from the regular bullets. Let's go back again. Now on this one, see if you can figure out how you're going to do it. Over our explain, notice that all of the headers or all of the primary bullet headers are a different color. See if you can figure out in the code by what's listed how you would only affect those areas. So pause this and try it. Start it up when you're finished and see how I do it. Okay, I hope you got it right. Let's go down and look to see what makes this text different from any other. And as we can see, it's in our feature box. It's not in the H3 because it opens and closes. But it's in our bullet list, but our bullet list is in 2 places. So the only thing that makes these unique is the B around the area that encompassed that we want to alter. So here we go. Let's go up and put in what we need to get this to work. Again, it's a feature box. However, it's only the list that's in the feature box that we want to affect. But we don't want to affect all the text. So we also have to nest with a B. So the B is nested and a child of the UL, and the unordered list is a child and nested in the feature box. So let's change it. We have our color, and again, blue. It's not that I love blue, it's just that everything matches and I know blue will work. Save it, go back, refresh, blue it is. One last item we're going to affect. Notice that we have a horizontal line and then our footer. It comes up to the right of our float. If we want this to always be at the bottom and not float, we have to clear the float out. So let's go back to our code, see if you can do that. Again, it's all the way to the bottom. I have a div tag, but that doesn't encompass the horizontal line. I could put it in between my div tags, but I've already got a div, so I can't affect just the divs. So what we can do is, I don't want to affect any formatting that's already applied to these, so I'm going to go in and tell it, I want, yes, my div, but I'm going to create a class so I don't affect anybody else's formatting. So my class is going to be equal to, and I'm going to call this one clear float. And again, don't forget to close your blocked tag. Now we have to go create our float clearing. So here we're going to tell it clear float. In order to clear float, we have to tell it clear, and we can clear the left because that's what we set. But if you have a left and a right, I can clear both. So now I can save this and look one last time. I have to scroll down, and there is my line. Now, notice it's right up above the border. So if I want to make it a little bit below my border area, I can go in and do several things. However, just for a quick fix right now, all I have to do is tell it in my div, but before the HR, because that's what I want to push down, I can do a few breaks. There's other ways to do it. This is the way I'm going to do it very quickly right now. So now we can save it and refresh it. And there you go. I could have also set the margin bottom, and that would have put some lines in between here. So, very quickly, we've used quite a few different types of styles, properties that we altered, plus we blocked in an area that we wanted different than everywhere else. Again, as long as you can block it in, give it a unique feature, then you can affect everything just in that area. Now, if I wanted to change just the word Teflon and make it red, then all I would have to do would be to put a span tag around this. Then I could affect just the span tag. There's so many different ways to do things. Normally, unless you're wanting to override a previous property set, you're probably going to do this embedded or external. Inline is to override. Thank you. Make sure you can work on your lab. This should help you with your current assignment.